Good morning, guys. I am trying really hard to get rid of this light that's on my shirt, and I can't. So I apologize for that. But yeah, so there's like, I don't know what it is on my shirt. But anyway, good morning. It's Monday, and I'm giving folks a little bit of time to join me now. I am a little late getting started. I'm trying to start like right at 8:30 every single morning with our Facebook Live. So if you're joining me, if you're one of the early birds who's joining me, if you would share this in the big group, if you'll show it, if you'll show it, if you'll, I can't talk, it's Monday. If you'll share it and Low Carb Journey to Health, I would appreciate it. So good morning. I see a couple people watching. Patricia found me. But yeah, if you don't mind, real quick, just share. The people in Low Carb Journey can't always find us. If you'll just share it in the group, that will help people find us. I've got a couple things I want to show you this morning. Hey, Mary, you can probably share for me if you would. I've got my coffee going, but I also have a couple of hacks. There's Mary Kay. I have a couple of hacks for you for coffee. People were talking about flavored coffee in the group, and it's starting to get cooler weather. At least in North Carolina, I know cool is subjective, right? But here, we're going to have some of the coldest weather this season. It's getting down in the low 40s most nights. It's going to be in the 30s. So, good morning. Diane joined us from California. It is early, like almost too early to start talking about coffee. Thank you, Jennifer. And there's Leah. Okay, so really quickly, I want to show you guys. Yeah, we're going to do flavored coffee in just a second, but I want to show you guys, and this is probably going to be clumsy because I'm going to have to change the camera. But I want to show you what's in my house, what's left from Thanksgiving. Oh gosh, what's left from Halloween. My neighbor came over yesterday, and honestly, I hadn't thought about it until she came in and she was like, so let me show you what my neighbor saw at my house yesterday. You ready? Okay, that. Can you see it? I can't seem to pinch in, but she saw this at my house yesterday. Yes, all that candy. And then she saw this bag that's beside of it. And in that bag, she could tell right away, yes, that's in my house. Right away, she could tell that there was cookies in there. And I won't even say what kind they are. Let me get set back up. I won't even say what kind of cookies they are, but she right away, she was like, Kristie, she was mortified. She's like, there are all these like cookies here and this candy. And, you know, aren't you tempted? It was one of those things like, isn't this terrifying? And I kind of chuckled because honestly, until she said something, and this is the honest truth, until she said something, I hadn't noticed it. I really had not. Well, I had noticed it in that, oh gosh, we have too much candy here. But I had noticed it more of, okay, Jonathan's going back to school. I need to send this to school because we send stuff. In fact, there's even more over there. My husband hasn't put with Jonathan's things. There's more. That's not even all we have. I'm just seeing that. But there was a time when that would have been so tempting to me. And it would have been like, oh my gosh, no, these cookies have to go. But it's not even tempting anymore. But what was interesting was the way she said, you know, her eyes were like, oh my gosh, you've got this candy. What are you going to do? And I'm like, oh, we'll send it back to school with Jonathan. It does. But what was interesting about this exchange was she was really like, kind of mortified, like, how are you going to, you know, isn't this tempt you? What, you know, how are you going to deal with this? Or, you know, did you want to just grab? In fact, she picked up a Twix bar. And I was like, I'm not the least bit attracted to that. And it's kind of interesting. It's almost like, I don't know, when you're happily married or whatever, when you're dating someone that you just are really, I don't know, committed to, and you're like, yeah, I really don't care about it. I don't see that as food. I really don't. So it's not a temptation. And the other thing that happens with me, and I'm reading this interesting book that's kind of finally putting words to it. The other thing that happens to me is I look at that instead of thinking, oh man, wouldn't that be good? Which in the past I would like, right? In the past I'd be like, oh, I want some of that candy. Now I look at that and I think, okay, so when I ate that, I weighed 250, 300 pounds, right? At one time I weighed 311 pounds. So when I look at that candy and I think that's limited mobility, that's not being able to go up the stairs and kiss my babies goodnight, that's wearing plus size clothes. And so I look at that and it doesn't appeal to me in the least. I do think, yeah, we got to get out of the house just because it doesn't the clutter, if you can see the rest of the house, just getting rid of some of the clutter, but it doesn't appeal to me in terms of eating. It's not tempting. The same thing with the cookies, and those are cookies that I used to love, but we send them with Jonathan to school, and we've said, Jonathan, put these in the break room, or when you're playing cards with your friends, share them then. But it's not something that bothers me. That's a struggle for me. So I'm trying to catch comments. Good morning. Everybody's saying that it's cooling down there. Okay. Sorry guys. I was like, and they're starting to go to bed in Australia. Yeah, people are saying that, and yeah, honestly, don't bring them home. That's the best thing to do. If those things tempt you, just don't bring them home. But fortunately, we're able to hand those out to trick-or-treaters and not be tempted at all. So yeah, so I think if I would offer you two things is you have to just start looking at it differently. And again, for me, I don't look at it and think, oh, this is going to be good. I look at this and think, this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad for my health. So the book I'm reading is actually called, oh gosh, what is it called? It doesn't even sound related to food, but it's called Unwinding Anxiety. It's really good, but it's talking about our negative feedback loops, and they talk about stress eating as part of that. But what I've done without realizing it is instead of associating the candy with a positive reinforcement, right? Instead of thinking, "Ooh, candy, yummy, tastes good," I look at it and I associate it with a negative reinforcement, right? Ooh, candy, blood sugar up, blood sugar down. Kristie's grumpy. Kristie feels bad. Kristie gains weight. Kristie can't find clothes that look good. All those negative pieces. And so that's why I think sometimes when people, have my shirt that says, ask me if I miss bread. I think that's sometimes why when people look at are struggling with cravings, or they're struggling to stay on plan, or they're struggling with that favorite food, they're still associating that food with a good thing. They're still associating that food with something pleasurable. And I think for me, and what this in the book, and the author totally escapes me, I can post it after the live, but what he talks about is take those things that are not serving you well. And anxiety and worry, anxiousness is one of them. But take those things and break them down and see what you're associating it with, and associate with that negative thing. So like, let's say that I'm anxious and worrying. What triggers that? What does it trigger? What negative thing am I doing? So if I start feeling anxious because I'm overwhelmed with how much I have to do, and then I'm laying awake at night thinking about it, and then I'm losing sleep, and then that's impacting my health and my well-being, then I have to think about, okay, letting go of this worry and stress. Anyway, he says it better than I do. But I've been doing this with the food, with high carb foods for 8.5 years, and didn't even recognize I was doing it. But what I started doing was, instead of associating those foods with something positive, and it's so true, people in my Facebook group will say, oh man, I went to dinner and the whatever, the pasta, the dessert, the whatever looked so good. And I'm sitting there thinking, there have been maybe a few very rare occasions where I looked at that. I looked at something high carb and thought it looked good. Because again, for me, I'm able to associate it with being overweight or obese, with having diabetes. Type 2 diabetes. I'm able to associate it with all these negative things. And so it doesn't tempt me in the least. But let's switch over to coffee. Good morning. I'm looking at some of your comments. They're going so fast, it's really hard for me to catch up. I will look really quick and see if there's any comments. Mostly it's people just saying that, yeah, when they eat off plan, that they do feel bad and feel grumpy. And so that's the thing. Once you know that, like, just let's try to replace that feedback loop, right? Because I will tell you, and I promise I'll get to coffee in just a second, but I'll tell you something really important. What I see people do especially with the holidays, y'all. And I know we just had Halloween last night, but especially with the holidays, and maybe we'll do a live to talk about this. But I see people who are like, well, it's Thanksgiving and I'm going to have whatever stuffing or dessert or whatever high carb thing. And they're just determined that's what they're going to have. And then they come back into the group and they want to do this confessional, like, oh, I feel so bad, I feel like crap, oh, don't do what I did. And I'm like, oh my god, I tried to tell you like a month before the holidays, like it's going to make you feel like crap. And then their cravings are worse and it's actually harder, and then they feel worse about themselves, right? Oh, I failed again. And so it's like stacking heavy rocks on top of more heavy rocks, right? So, like, you fail, heavy rock. You fail again, heavy rock. You fail again, heavy rock. And that heavy rock is like feeling bad about yourself. It's the feeling of failure. It's the cravings coming back in full force. It can be the blood sugar swings, which like make you hungry and grumpy and emotional. It's all of those things. And so the opposite is also true. The opposite is also true. When you look those things in the eye, right? You look at grandma's dessert or the stuffing or the Trix bar in the eye, and you're like, not today, not today. I've eaten I've eaten those candy bars for 40 Halloweens of my lifetime, right? I don't need them. I'm going to make this Halloween different. I'm going to make this Thanksgiving different. You know, I've been eating grandma's stuffing and look at these size. Okay. Let's see what happens when I do something different this year. Okay. And if I'm miserable and I hate it, I reserve the right to eat all the stuff and I want next year. But let's get through this holiday season feeling healthy. And what happens is when you stare it in the eye and you don't eat it, and you feel good, right? And instead of those stones being stacked on top of you with the weight of that decision, what happens is you're putting stones in front of you and you're stepping up and you're stepping up. In each success, each time that you're successful with that, you just feel better about who you are and you feel more in control. I've had people tell me, in fact, there was someone I think posted every weekend who's like, it feels so amazing to feel like I'm controlling my food rather than feeling like food is controlling me. What an amazing thought. If you've spent the bulk of your life feeling as if food controls you, imagine being able to feel like you're controlling your food. It's incredible. And when I talk about going off plan, and we'll do this as another live at some point, but when I talk with people about going off plan, what I don't think they understand is how bad you feel afterwards. And again, not just the um, not just the physical bad, but the emotional bad as well. Now, let's go back. If you're one of those people who can eat off plan and eat with rails on, right? You can decide, I'm eating this today and I'm fine tomorrow, then more power to you. That's not me. That's not me ever. But if you're one of those people, I do know people who can say, I'm going to eat this, blah, for this limited time, and they're okay with it. I can't do that. If I started in on one of those candy bars, I would eat until the box was empty. True story. I would eat until the box is empty. So if you're like me and you can't do that, then let's keep that in mind. All right, let's go back. We'll come back to that if that's at all interesting to you guys, because for me, it's huge. That mind shift for long-term success is really, really huge. Okay, let's talk coffee. So we've gotten through Thanksgiving, right? No, not Thanksgiving. Oh my gosh. Well, our Canadian friends have gotten through Thanksgiving. We've gotten through Halloween. And I know that there's been pumpkin spice, and we can make pumpkin spice coffee too. But the big thing now is going to be peppermint mocha, right? I don't know if Starbucks has it out or not. But have you guys looked in the sugar? Somebody can probably look this up for me. If you guys have looked in the sugar for Starbucks peppermint mocha, it's appalling. And yes, they do have some sugar-free syrups. They do. But if you look at the ingredients in those, a lot of them have ASK, or they have maltitol, or they have sweeteners that we just wouldn't use, right? So let's talk about how to make our own peppermint mocha without having to buy any special creamers or any special coffee. Now they do make a coffee that's fine to use. There's a peppermint mocha, Starbucks peppermint mocha, that's fine. But let's say you don't have that, right? You've got your plain coffee. Mine's probably cold by now, but I brewed my typical espresso, right? Double shot, two double shots, so quad shot. And let's say I'm going to make peppermint mocha. Well, I've got two glass jars here. They're hard to see probably. This has some water and this has nothing in it. So I've got my reduced fat milk, and I'm going to let this be a proxy for my coffee. In fact, I'll put a little bit of milk in there, right? A couple tablespoons, maybe 2 tablespoons of my zero sugar. This is my zero sugar reduced fat. And I'm going to put just 2 teaspoons of cocoa powder. So this is just cocoa powder. I'm using Hershey regular cocoa powder. I'll show you. You can use your favorite, right? I really like the one that Trader Joe's does. It's quite good. And there's maybe seasonal. But I'm putting 2 teaspoons in my milk. And look at this. I'm going to try to stir it. Can you guys see this? Let me hold it up. I'm going to try stirring this, and look, it's really not mixing very well. You see, it's kind of clumpy and gross, right? It's really not mixing. Now, I could keep going with it and just kind of, but look, that's kind of gross. Let me show you this. Take your water. Now, this was warm water at one point, but take your water. I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of, and that may be too much. You adjust this to your taste. And there's no sweetener in this. You can put sweetener, but let me try it in warm water. Look what's happening. It's a different effect. So the reason this happens, so I'm using reduced fat milk, but I'm not using full fat milk. Yeah, it's the lack of fat. The fat causes it to clump up. So if you dissolve it in water first, now I do have a recipe, by the way, for chocolate syrup in my book, Growing Up Keto. So if you have Growing Up Keto, there's a chocolate syrup. But let's say it's morning and you don't have time for that. Put it in some warm water. My water's not warm anymore. Put it in some warm water. It dissolves really easily, really fast, right? And maybe my coffee will be warm enough. I'm going to put this in my coffee. So I just dissolved 2 teaspoons of cocoa powder into warm water, and look, it just mixed right into my coffee, right? So easy. Like it's just, now I've got a mocha, right? Chocolate and my coffee is mocha. And watch this. I'm actually gonna, this may be too much chocolate. Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm gonna put a little bit of it in here like that. I'm gonna put a drop of vanilla extract because I like vanilla and everything. So just a drop or 2 or 3, and not measure it. Put a little sweetener. I'm using a liquid sweetener. You can use, doesn't have to be a liquid sweetener. I put that in there because I want to show you something. Well, I think I'm going to use a drop of liquid. Yeah, a squirt of liquid. And then I've got, oops, not yet. I've got peppermint. This is food grade peppermint oil. Just put a drop or 2. This is super strong. So 1 drop is going to be enough for me. That's it. That was 2. That was actually, oh my, that may be too many. Now, I've got my frother. If I was in my laundry room, I would use my other thing. I would use my steamer, and that's it. That's absolutely it. And look, it smells amazing. It's peppermint mocha in my house. So you can use, I used a food grade oil. I don't sell those. I used a food grade peppermint oil that I got at a local health shop. And you can use peppermint extract. Just don't get mint extract. Make sure you get peppermint extract. And I'm just letting this froth because I like it super frothy. I'll probably take my steamer to it. And that's it. That's all you got. Let's try it. Oh, it's pepperminty. So pepperminty and so chocolatey. Probably needs another drop or two of sweetener, that you can adjust that to your taste. So essentially, I use 2 teaspoons of my cocoa powder. I mixed it in water, warm water, just like 2 tablespoons of warm water. I stirred it around. I put it in my coffee. I put a drop of mint oil, right? And that's it. Mm. And I think this is so much better than um, Starbucks. And look at how much money I spent. I mean, I already had the cocoa powder in my cabinet. I've had this is Now brand, this Now essential oil. Gosh, I've had it forever too. I, I've probably had this for 6 or 7 years. Don't tell me it's gone bad, but I've had that forever. And that's it. That's it. Carol's saying, do you have gingerbread latte? I have a list of 4 more that we can make. I'm just trying to figure out, like with the latte, I want to use my steamer. I'm just trying to figure out how to show you guys how to make it. I may have to bring the coffee maker in here, but yes, we'll make pumpkin spice. I've got a whole bunch of these to make. So simple. Anyway, that's it. If you've ever put cocoa powder in and it clumped, it's because of the fat. So mix it with some hot water first and then put it in what you have. If you're looking for a true chocolate syrup, like let's say the holidays are coming and you want your kids to be able to make chocolate milk, or you just want to make a mocha, you can make my chocolate syrup recipe. Like I said, that recipe is in Growing Up Keto. Actually, I have, yes, Tanya, this can be replayed. It'll be up on my page for forever. Um, I have the chocolate syrup recipe on Diet Doctor. I actually shared it on their website. So use my tip with, if you're making the syrup, you don't use erythritol, use allulose or xylitol, which can be toxic to dogs. So be careful with xylitol. But allulose, xylitol, or Boca Sweet, those make really good syrups. But anyway, that's it. And use whatever sweetener you want. And it's delicious. I need to warm it up. I need to get it in the steamer because it's kind of cold now, which isn't nearly as good. Mm. Let me check on the comments. Um, yes, Kathy, it's hard to start with hot milk though. When you're Kathy's saying, "Well, the latte is just hot milk." Well, it is. And I guess I could warm the milk on the stove, or the zero sugar. I have to stop saying milk. The zero sugar or the cream. You could even use heavy cream. I'm using my zero sugar milk, and I'm using reduced fat. So, but yeah, you could certainly do it that way. For me, it's the steaming and the frothing that make it so good. I'm spoiled. I know I'm spoiled. But yeah, I've got a couple different recipes written down. As we get into cooler weather, I know, and our Aussie friends who are going to bed are like, it's not cold here, it's getting hot here. Um, Amanda says no cream. You could use cream, but you just want to be careful because the carbs can add up and the fat can add up really quickly. I'm using the reduced fat zero sugar milk because that's what I have and that's what I prefer in my coffee. But you could use cream. Patty says, "What is the zero sugar milk?" It is Maple Hill. I guess it's backwards for you guys, isn't it? It's Maple Hill zero sugar. It comes in reduced fat, which you guys can't see. It comes in reduced fat and it comes in whole milk. It comes in both. Um, Jennifer says, do you use a combination of heavy cream and zero sugar milk? I have. I've used both. I've used that combination before. Um, yeah, it's perfect to use that. If I'm using yeah. Yeah, I have used that combination before. If you want something super creamy, I'll just stop there. In the cooking community, if you guys want to do more of this kind of thing, we can do it there too. In fact, I can actually write down the recipes for you in the cooking community if that's helpful to you guys. Rhonda, check their website. Go on the Maple Hill. It's Maple Hill Organic. Go on their website and there is a locator. There's a product locator and you can find if it's in your area. Carol, I'm using, yes, regular peppermint oil. There's no sweetener in it. It's just 100% pure peppermint and it's Now version. And this is food grade. Make sure that whatever you get is food grade. And I have to look and see what oil this is because I have had it forever and oil doesn't usually last. But yeah, it says peppermint oil. It's pure peppermint oil. So that's it. Um, Kathy says yes in the cooking community. Yeah. But yeah, I can certainly type this up and put it in our recipe collection so you guys will have it to find. All right, guys. Well, it's getting close to 9, so I am going to jump off. Thanks for joining me this morning. I have a meeting tomorrow morning, so I don't know if I'll be able to do a live tomorrow morning, but I should be able to do one on Wednesday. So maybe we'll do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Um, Somebody's saying that Kroger's not started selling it. Like I said, go on their website. Almost every product has a website. So just Google Maple Hill Organic product locator and you'll find it. Same with the Egg Life wraps, all those things. The first places I found it was Whole Foods. And so if you have a Whole Foods, you can find it there. But then our Harris Teeter started selling it. So anyway, thank you guys for joining me. Have a great Monday. I can't believe it's Monday. I got to take Jonathan back to school and then it's Monday. Patty, I'm sorry, I keep saying bye. Patty, the recipe collection, it's in the cooking community. If you're part of the community and you can't find it, email me, Kristie@homemade.health. Kristie@homemade.health. You can email me there. But the recipe collection is just on that main page of our cooking community. So I can grab a link for you. You'll have to log in to use the link, but I can grab a link for you. All right. Bye, guys.